Okay, everybody. So in the previous video, we got our show input error function at least partially set up. It might not be complete. In fact, one thing that we have omitted here is the outline that is supposed to change in color. This is supposed to be have a red outline. We'll work on that a little bit later. But first, let's get the hide input error function set up. And for this, we can work fairly similarly. We could, in fact, just copy and paste this function. And we won't need the error message, right? Because there isn't going to be an error message. We're just removing an error message. We can still just select this element like we're doing, but set the text content to an empty string. And now I think that'll actually that's all that we needed to do there. So if we make it into a valid string, nope. So that's not working yet. Let's see why. Oh, probably because we're never calling this function. So if we don't call the function, it's not going to do anything. We need to call the function after, well, when this is not true. So you need to make sure to put an else block in here, or else you'll wind up showing the error message and then immediately hiding it. And we can just call this function and pass it the form element. We're not using the form element yet, but how is the form element used in this? Oh, okay. I know why we're not using the form element. So this is this was a small error on my part. It will be slightly better in terms of error proofing and performance if we search within the form element for these span tags. So that's why the form element was not being used. But now, if this is false, so in other words, if the input is valid, then we are going to hide the input error. And let's go back to the browser and try it out. I have already added correct IDs to all of my span tags. If you haven't done that, make sure to do that now. There's the error message, and now it is gone. So hide input error function appears to be working. At this point, you should go and make sure that it is working for all of your form fields. And if it isn't, then check those ID strings very carefully because that's probably what the issue is. Yep, so there we go. Okay, so hiding input errors is pretty good. Then let's implement this last bit here about the underline. So, well, it's not just an underline, it's an outline, a border. But we can basically use the same idea that was used here. How was it implemented in this example that we have? Well, we are adding a class to the input element. Also note that we're adding a class to the error element, but in our particular case, it doesn't seem like that's strictly necessary. But if styling required it, then you could certainly do that. So let's see. Right, add a class to the input element. Okay. So we don't have that class styled yet either, so we'll have to do a little bit of CSS. We can give it any name we want because it doesn't exist yet. So let's go up here. Input L dot class list dot. So we're going to want to add the class when we're showing an input error. And we can call the class, we want it to be a modifier, a BEM modifier. So here is the element that we need to modify. and state underscore error, something like that. All right. And now if we want to just check that we're doing it correctly, which I always recommend, let's remove it here. On the other side, when we're hiding the error message, go back to the browser and just make sure that the class is being added. So here we are. Now we have the modal input state error class, and now it's, oops, that was wrong. And now it's gone. Okay. So if you prefer to use type, I think I will actually change it to type. Yeah. Just because that's more consistent with what we usually use. So adding, removing. Now we just need to style the class, right? So go to the style sheet, find the input element, and apply a style to this class. Now let's go back to, where do we need to be? The Figma. So it's red with a 0.6 opacity, 1 pixel all the way around. We can use border, 1 pixel, solid, paste in the color. I think that's it. Now, the browser is taking over and preventing it from showing immediately. That's something that is resolvable, but it's beyond the scope of this, and not everyone will necessarily see that. So we don't have to worry about that. But there we go. So it's showing up. Now, is the hover state a problem? We would have to check the Figma to see if a specific hover state for this is applied. There's no specific hover state shown for the error message element, so this is acceptable. It would be a fine idea to establish a different hover style, or actually what we could do, let's see, to prevent that hover styling, we can just move this below where we have the other hover styles. I think that probably is a bit better. Well, I thought that was going to work, but apparently not. Nope, I stand corrected. I thought that was going to work. But in any case, that's fine. The designer has not included a hover state for this, so we can just leave it as is. And with that, a large portion of the validation is set up. I should note that there's at least one other detail that I have left undone here. And there are still various aspects of the JavaScript that have not been handled. The main thing being the toggling the button state appropriately. We'll work on that in a separate video.